Hey YouTube, Austin Vintage Warfare. So I wanted to cover a pistol that was actually in my last video. I was shooting it in that, and it's in a video game, and it's actually in a lot of forms of media. It's in video games, movies, stuff like that. But it's also a fantastic firearm platform, and it is the Heckler & Koch USP chambered in 40. H&K meaning Heckler & Koch, or the German firearms manufacturer that created or designed and manufactured this weapon, and USP meaning Universal Service Pistol. This one is chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson, and this platform was actually designed to shoot the 40 Smith & Wesson. But we'll get into that. I'm going to show you how to disassemble it, assemble it, all the features, but I just want to quickly talk about the background. So this was designed in 1990-ish, I believe, and it hit the markets in 1994. It had law enforcement in mind when it was designed. It was based off of the Mark 23. The SOCOM Mark 23 was designed for like operators and stuff like that during that time, and that was chambered in 45. This, at the time, 40 was in a FBI trial, and there was a love affair going on with that caliber and law enforcement agencies, and this was issued to a lot of law enforcement professionals around the country and around the United States and in other countries. There is a variant of this pistol that is used by the German military. I'm sure there's other military forces that use this, but the P8A1, I believe, was designed, and it's basically the same thing as this. I think it's 9mm though. But that was issued to the Bundeswehr, and it still is today, as far as I know. Maybe there's another variant. But this pistol is probably one of the best polymer framed service pistols that you could buy, and it still blows a lot of the newer stuff out of the water. Has a lot more features than a lot of the new stuff that I've seen, especially the striker fire stuff. Definitely one of the best double action pistols and most reliable. It has just this idea of always functioning. I mean, I've seen USPs that I shot as a kid in indoor ranges, 15 years ago. I went to this indoor range, shot a USP, and granted that one was in 45, but I go back 15 years later, it's still there, and I asked them, is that the same one? They're like, yep, still going, still functioning. I mean, hasn't had any parts replaced on it or anything yet. And that's a testament, because this really is the definition of reliability, and I think the H&K in general just makes incredible firearms, but they are on the more expensive side. Now, when we talk about the I guess the overall reliability and features, I really love the fact that they had certain features on this pistol that are good for people that have to draw quickly, and you can see that, and I'll go over that. I'll have like a overview of this thing. But I mean, I have to say, for one of the first polymer frame pistols that was like universally, issued everywhere, this still holds water, and it's 1990. I mean, that's something. So let's get into the functionality of the weapon, how to disassemble it and assemble it. Alright, so now that we've zoomed in a little bit, or you can see it up a little bit up close, we're going to talk about its functionality and all the little features, how to disassemble it, assemble it, etc. Okay? Now, going forward, it is not loaded. None of these magazines that I'm going to be using are loaded. That going forward, we're going to talk about the magazine release as the first part. It's not a straightforward button like a lot of other pistols are, right? It's a kind of like an ambidextrous lever, and that's really great at a pistol designed in the 90s that has an ambidextrous magazine release. Only H&K thinks of that kind of stuff, right? A lot of modern pistols don't even have ambidextrous anything on them, so that's a testament to this thing. I actually do enjoy it. To me, it's better than the Glock Glock magazine releases that are these little rectangular things. This is just, it's responsive. If you're doing speed reloading, tactical reloading, or anybody who has to do that kind of stuff, it's also great because the speed of that these magazines just kind of come out on their own. Anybody who's ever used like a Glock or something, they've had to do a flick to get the magazine to come out. You don't really have that with this. It just straight out really fast, and that's useful for obvious reasons, right? That's quick. Magazine or not the magazine, sorry, the slide release or the slide catch is right here, and it's big, it's thick, it's responsive, and you can't miss it. And that is also the takedown component, and I will show that in a minute. One feature for those that are in law enforcement or have ever had to carry a duty weapon for anything really, especially a double action pistol, people know if you pull that hammer back, this takes little to no pressure to set off, right? Now, if you want to draw on somebody, you want to keep it cocked and locked, this pistol, again, had law enforcement in mind. When you pull back that hammer and it's resting there, you can cock and lock it with the safety selector, and you just have to pull it up, and it fits over the slide there, and it's not going to set the weapon off. That's a really good feature because a lot of inexperienced officers, if you have you know, a shooting, nerves, jitters, whatever, which is going to happen if you get in those situations, you run the risk of somebody carrying cocked and locked, of shooting themselves in the leg upon draw. And this kind of is like an extra layer of thought that goes behind drawing your weapon, which is a good thing. It's just a simple little feature that I really enjoy about this particular weapon. Now, the decocker, to send the hammer forward without setting it off, is the safety selector, and you just simply pull down and it'll send it forward. So that's the basic functionality. Now, the sights and all the other stuff, it's good. It's on the higher end, but it's nothing to write home about. I do enjoy the grips. It's meant for big hands, and I really enjoy how this feels in my hands, especially when shooting. It's very pleasant to shoot for a 40. Probably the most pleasant 40 to shoot, in my opinion. Now, in terms of disassembly and assembly, so there's a groove. There's a groove right there, that rectangular groove, and it's hard to do on camera and do it this way. I'd have to turn it around, but you're basically gonna match that groove up right above here, and you should be able to push this the slide release, or the I tongue twisted there. You can push this out, you line that groove up, and you should be able to push it with this button on this side, and the slide catch will pop right out, and then that's when you can disassemble the weapon. So I will do that because it is hard to do on that side of the camera. There we go. You can hold it. I always just hold it right here if it wants to cooperate. Right there. And there's your frame. Here is the top portion of the USP. And there is your spring, your barrel, all that fun stuff. So I'm going to take that out. There's your spring, your guide rod. And there is your barrel. And there is what the inside looks like. All right, now for assembly. Now that we've taken it apart, we're going to put it back together. So, got the barrel, got the slide. You're going to pop that back in with those grooves for the spring facing up. Slide it back in. You're going to take your guide rod and spring. You're going to take the spring end, not the part that fits over the catch there. You slide that in, and you're just going to form fit it, fit right in there. Okay, now comes the fun part. You're just going to take it over, and there's these grooves. You see those metal grooves. It's like any other pistol, and you see the grooves on the slide. Those little rectangular things down there. You just slide it right over the top, and it'll fit right on. Okay. Now you're going to want to line up that groove, that rectangular groove. See that hole? You're going to have to put your slide catch back into the hole, and you want to basically pull back on the slide until the groove is lined up, and it'll pop right back in. And there you go. And that is back together. So that is disassembly and assembly. Alright YouTube, thanks for watching. I'm currently editing another video from the range. It's the World War II stuff, so stay tuned. See you later.